Hello, grade 8, and welcome to Thuma Mina Teaching. In our previous lessons, we had an overview of the Industrial Revolution in Britain. If you remember correctly, the Industrial Revolution started at around 1760, and it changed Britain drastically over the years. What was happening in South Africa during this time? Well, that is what I'm hoping to answer during this lesson. So here we go, South Africa before 1860. In the 1800s, South Africa looked completely different from what you know it to be today. This is how you know South Africa today. Let me take you back to 1860. What I want you to know is that the land was divided by multiple independent colonies, states, or groups of people. Let's go through them. I want to start with the largest colony at that time, which is the British colony. So let me go through this map with you. Let's start with the British colonies, which consist of the Cape Colony and Natal. The Boer republics, which is known as the South African Republic or Transvaal, and the Orange Free State. And then there were many independent African states that were there before the European explorers. These independent African groups were the Xhosas, the Sotho, the Griquas, the Namas, the Tswanas, the Ndebeles, the Vendas, the Pedis, the Swazi, and the Zulus. With this variety of people groups in South Africa, one can only imagine the amount of riots, clashes, and tribal disputes that they may have gotten into. Of all these people groups, who do you think was the most powerful? The British, of course. Look how many colonies they had all over the world. Fast forward, spoiler alert, by 1910, the British had colonized the entire South Africa. South Africa became a union of Britain. Now let's focus on the British. Backtrack to 1860. Let's focus on the colony of Natal. So Natal became a colony of Britain in 1843. So the British were interested in this particular area in South Africa because of its strategic location for a port and sugar. You heard that right, sugar. So the Natal climate was perfect for sugarcane plantation, and the global market for sugar was booming. The British were able to get wealthy because of the sugarcane, which was then turned into sugar and exported to other countries. So Natal was incredibly lucrative for the British because of the export of sugar. But they had one big problem: labor. You see, sugar plantations are labor intensive and require lots of laborers. You might be wondering why they didn't just hire the Zulus. Well, the Zulus were independent. They had their own crops, cattle, and their own plantations, and they were self-sufficient. They didn't need to work for the British colony. So what did the British do? They decided to get laborers from India because India was one of the British colonies at that time. These laborers from India were indentured laborers. Indentured laborers were workers from India who were contracted to work on these plantations for a fixed period, typically 5 years, in exchange for passage, accommodation, and a small wage. This system was established in the 1800s to address labor shortages on the plantations. After completing their indenture, many laborers stayed in South Africa, significantly contributing to the country's Indian community. Indentured laborers in Natal faced harsh conditions, including long working hours, low wages, poor living conditions, strict oppressive contracts, physical abuse and hard punishment, limited freedom, and harsh penalties for breaking contracts. But these were not the only group of Indians that came to South Africa. The other group was called the Passenger Indians. Passenger Indians were Indian immigrants who came to South Africa on their own, paying for their travel costs. Unlike indentured laborers, they were not under contract. They started arriving in the late 1800s and early 1900s, looking for better economic opportunities. Many became successful traders and small business owners, playing a key role in the South African economy and the growth of the Indian community. You know what I did? I made a table for you that compares these two groups of people. So you know what to do. Press that pause button to write it down. So now you know why there's so many Indians in Natal. In fact, Durban is known as Little India because it is one of the largest communities of Indians outside of India itself. Thank you so much. See you next time for lesson 4.